You just walked into a room, shook someone's hand, and 3 seconds later, their name was already gone. And for the rest of the night, you smiled, nodded, and quietly dodged saying their name out loud. Most people assume this is a memory problem. It isn't. It's something psychologists find far more revealing. Because forgetting names isn't really about forgetting. It's about where your attention actually goes when another human being appears in front of you. And what researchers uncovered about that hidden moment might quietly change the way you see yourself. Here's what actually happens the second someone introduces themselves. Your brain has to do 3 things at once. It has to process their face, read their emotional signals, and encode a completely arbitrary sound, their name, into long-term memory. Neuroscientists call names arbitrary verbal labels. Your brain treats them almost like random noise. Unlike a job title or a story, a name carries no meaning your brain can attach to. So the moment you meet someone, your brain quietly decides, is this worth the effort of storing? But here's where it gets stranger. The people who forget names easily often aren't distracted. They're overloaded. Their attention isn't shallow. It's split between the person in front of them and the quiet storm running inside their own head. Psychologists call this cognitive load, the invisible weight your mind carries while trying to appear normal on the outside. And the more sensitive, thoughtful, or self-aware you are, the more of this hidden load you tend to carry. Which is why the most emotionally attentive people are often the worst at remembering names. There's a strange irony hiding here. You were paying attention, just not to the part society expects. You were reading their eyes, their tone, the small shift in their shoulders when they said nice to meet you. Your brain was decoding a human being. The name was just the receipt it forgot to keep. But that's only part of the story. Because there's a second, quieter reason names slip away, and it's deeply psychological. It's called the spotlight effect. The belief that everyone is watching you more closely than they actually are. When you meet someone new, a tiny part of you is watching yourself instead of them. How does my voice sound? Was that handshake weird? Did I smile too much? Not enough? In those critical 3 seconds when their name enters the air, you're not fully there. You're standing outside yourself, quietly judging the performance. And by the time you return to your body, the name is already gone. Most people never realize what happens next. They blame themselves. They start believing they're rude, careless, or bad with people. But this is where psychology quietly disagrees. Because studies on memory suggest something unexpected. Forgetting names is often linked to higher empathy, not lower. Empathetic minds spend their cognitive energy on emotion, not administration. They remember how a conversation felt long after they forget who was in it. But there's something even stranger going on beneath the surface. Neuroscientists have found a hidden network in your brain called the default mode network. It's the part of you that turns on the moment nothing urgent is happening. It replays old conversations, drafts future ones, and quietly wanders into memories you didn't ask it to visit. And for many people who forget names easily, this internal world is unusually loud. They aren't ignoring the outside world. They're negotiating with an inner one that never fully switches off. And here's what most people miss. This same trait, this rich inner life, is often the reason they're creative, reflective, and emotionally deep. Forgetting names may be the small tax paid for a mind that thinks in layers. But there's another quiet layer here that almost no one talks about. Sometimes forgetting a name isn't about the brain at all. It's about safety. When we meet someone new, a small primal part of us decides how much to let them in. For people who've been hurt, dismissed, or overwhelmed by others in the past, that gate opens slowly. And when the gate is slow, so is the memory. It's not coldness. It's protection wearing the mask of forgetfulness. But the real reason names disappear is much deeper than any single explanation. Memory isn't a filing cabinet. It's a story you tell yourself about what mattered, and your brain quietly chooses every single day what deserves a place in that story. When a name doesn't stick, it's often because the connection hasn't yet earned a chapter. But the moment something meaningful happens between two people, the name suddenly locks in, effortlessly. This is why you can forget the name of someone you've met 5 times, yet remember the barista who once made you laugh on a hard day. Your memory isn't broken. It's honest. It tells you what your mind is truly investing in, even when your social self wishes otherwise. And once you understand this, something quietly shifts. The shame you carried for forgetting names starts to loosen. You realize you were never careless. You were simply present in a different way than the world rewarded. And maybe the people you want closest aren't the ones whose names you memorize fastest, but the ones whose presence your mind refuses to let go of. So here's the quiet question worth sitting with. Whose name do you always remember without trying? And what does that tell you about who your mind quietly considers home? Share your answer in the comments. Sometimes the smallest questions reveal the deepest parts of us. If this video quietly reached a place inside you, consider subscribing. More psychology stories like this are on the way. And next time, we'll explore something even stranger. Why the people who overthink everything are often the ones who feel the loneliest in a crowded room.